Welcome everyone to Sul Ross Psyched Inn, episode number 3. This is a space for slowing down and sitting with psychological ideas, not just as theories on a page, but as experiences we recognize in ourselves and in one another. Here we gather for a conversation between science and self, reading psychology alongside our own lives, questions and stories. Because psychology isn't just studied, it's lived. I'm glad everyone is here, specifically Alexis Amancio. And in this gathering, we are going to reflect on the life and work of Dr. Ignacio Martín-Baró, a Jesuit priest, scholar, and advocate for social justice, whose thought continues to shape how we understand psychology in context. Rooted in both rigorous academic formation and deep commitment to community, Martín-Baró challenged psychology to move beyond abstract definitions of normal and abnormal. He understood human behavior as inseparable from the social and historical conditions in which people live, especially within contexts of oppression. From this perspective, he argued that what is often labeled as pathology may instead be a natural response to unjust realities. Through his work, he called for a psychology grounded in critical reflection, one that questions entrenched ideologies and remains accountable to both personal and collective transformation. His contributions gave us rise to liberation psychology and continue to influence the praxis of community psychology. And in this gathering, we are invited to consider how our own understanding of mental health, behavior, and normalcy is shaped by the worlds we inhabit. What might it mean to see ourselves and others, not as disordered, but as responding to conditions that call for awareness, care, and change? As we sit with Martín-Baró's legacy, we return to the question at the heart of the Psyched Inn: how might psychology not only explain our lives, but help us transform together? So Alexis, can you share with us a bit of your personal background?
First and foremost, I really want to thank you for giving me this option, and I'm really happy to be back to the place that helped me get to where I'm at right now. So I do want to thank you for that, Dr. Trotman. A little bit about me: I was born 1995 here in Alpine, the old hospital. It's not functioning no more. I grew up my 18 years of school back in Presidio, Texas. I graduated at 14. I took a break, and then I ended up going to Paso Community College for almost a year, and then I decided to transfer here to Sul Ross. I'm basically just understanding exactly what I wanted. I was fortunate enough to meet individuals like yourself and other professors that helped me get a better understanding of that, and that led me into pursuing my master's degree. So I do want to emphasize that you were a big part of me doing that. So I do come from a Hispanic family. I wouldn't say I'm the only individual with graduate studies or college studies, but I am one, if not few, of my family members that went on to pursue a graduate degree. So I do not have that much of a reference per se as far as my family goes. My mom finished high school and then got married. My dad only finished 6th grade, but he's a hardworking person. So as far as college work, I'm technically paving my own road, which is something exciting, but at the same time, it does bring about some doubts as far as how to do it. I'm personally into spending my time, if I'm not working or trying to do stuff like this, I usually spend my free time doing some sort of sports, looking at my personal health, and I'm pretty much into finding ways to better myself, both physically and mentally. And I think things like this, podcasts, really help induce those thoughts as far as how my decisions have led me into becoming a better person and a better version of myself. So yeah, I'm happy to be back. Most and foremost, but for the most part, my personal background is just growing up in Presidio, playing sports, and then once graduating, trying to figure out my path.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And so you just explained a little bit about, carving your own path and being possibly first generation to some extent in your family. But what drew you to pursue industrial organizational psychology?
As far as pursuing industrial organizational psychology, the actual degree per se is, whenever I first started it was barely 8-9 years in the making. So it was technically something new as far as it being recognized. And the reason I ended up doing that is because psychology has always been a focus of mine. One of my earliest thoughts goes back to me watching Dr. Phil and shows like that when I was a younger age. And it always drew to me how individuals lose fear of expressing themselves in public just because they really wanted to get a solution. So unconsciously, it sparked something on me as far as psychology goes. And then growing up, I started seeing how the world worked, and then I started seeing even just thinking about like money. Everything flows to transactions and stuff like that. So that also led me into thinking about business and looking into how I could potentially one day get into investment or stuff like that. By the time I was getting to my to the end of my bachelor's degree, I ended up finding out that there was a degree that did both. So basically, industrial organizational psychology focuses on both sides of psychology. One being the industrial, which is understanding how the business side works and understanding any, I guess you can say like any adjustments that can be made within the organization so that individuals within there work more effectively. But at the same time, you also focus on the actual individuals within there and understanding the importance of having well-being, understanding work-life balance, and at the end of the day, just the need for a person to be there so that people can express themselves, but also not just express themselves, but the actual structure of the company to be modified so that whatever they express gets dealt with. And as far as what drew me to it is that I was killing two birds with one stone. I'm able to still focus on two things that I enjoy doing, and it also made me understand that I didn't have to pick one. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, that I was able to understand and see that I could do both, and I didn't have to limit myself to one or the other.
Excellent. Wow. And once you graduated, what surprised you as you entered the workforce? Like, what tools did your graduate education provide to assist you in your pursuit?
Well, when thinking of I/O, you usually think of those two things: the structure of the company and then the people that make that company up. So you can have a really good structure in a company, but if the people don't believe in that structure, or if they're not mentally well to believe that, then it's not going to work. So the thing that surprised me the most was the lack of well-being within individuals. A lot of individuals focus a lot on being a good worker, being professional, but very, very rarely do you hear individuals focus on how to get better, both mentally and physically. So I think for me, one of the surprises was that the lack of people's intentional behaviors towards being good.
Right.
I guess you can say like an individual usually brags about working hard, but most people don't brag about taking breaks. So for me, that was a very hard thing to understand, because the answers were pretty straightforward. You feel tired, relax. You haven't slept good, sleep. So the actual solutions were pretty straightforward, but it was surprising to see that most people saw that as a negative behavior. They saw missing asking for a day off as a negative thing. They saw, why am I going to go to sleep at 5 p.m.? I need to wait until it's 9, 10 p.m. So small behaviors that you're like, hey, it's okay for you to get home, sleep, and wake up at next day, 4 or 5 in the morning. It's okay. And I think it's, unfortunately, I do think that it's something that has not changed that much. And most people do focus solely on being a hard worker, and they basically negate their own personal well-being. So I think that's pretty much, and that encompasses the rest of my surprises, that most people do have that lack of self-awareness as to what they need to be a better worker, because they're focusing on being a hard worker.
Interesting. And I think what you're saying is very similar to, and just brings to mind why I chose this text, because Dr. Martín-Baró was always about getting better. And not only for himself, but for his community, right? And so I was like, wow, there's some similarities between some of his attributes and yours that, that just brought that to mind. But would you, at this point, encourage students with bachelor's degrees in psychology to pursue graduate education?
So from a personal perspective, I do believe that maybe me saying this is not the best thing, especially being at a college podcast, but I do believe that school is not for everyone, and I do believe that work is not for everyone. So finding your actual purpose is priority number one. But with that being said, if school is for you, especially when thinking about psychology, anything related to psychology and other sectors like medicine or law, you have to be an expert in it. You cannot just say you know something without having the references, citations, the experience within it. I wouldn't want a first-year doctor to do an operation on me, for example, right? So I'd rather go to a doctor that has experience in the years, and that people talk good about that person, recommendations, etc. And I believe that psychology is one of those sectors where you have to be an expert. So as far as encouraging, yes, I would encourage students to pursue a graduate education in psychology. But I do think that it's very important to understand that by doing that, you have to dedicate yourself to that. So let's say you want to be a clinical psychologist, that's going to be your life. You're going to eat, sleep, drink, whatever. That's how there's going to exist in your world. Unconsciously, you're going to be seeing every interaction in your life related to that. And you need to be okay with that. You need to be okay with having that uncontrollable desire to analyze things, to understand behaviors, etc. So as far as encouraging, yes, I do encourage it, but I do think it's important for the individual pursuing those degrees to understand that once you decide to go into it, that's basically like your marriage. Like it's an all-in, and you have to dedicate yourself to that. You have to read a lot. You have to make sure that whatever you do say it goes back somewhere.
Understood.
That you don't just say things because you want to say it, but you actually have a reference point. And most importantly, especially when speaking about psychology, you're going to impact a lot of lives. And it goes both ways.
Right.
The way you deal with stuff, you can either lead people into negative behaviors or into positive behaviors. So I do think it's important that going into the psychology field, especially graduate studies, you have to not erase, but you have to not have you can generalize, you can't put your own experience onto others. So you have to have a very open mindset as far as understanding that everybody does have a different upbringing, everybody does have a different lifestyle, experiences. If you're okay with understanding and accepting that, I would 100% encourage individuals to keep going and understanding more of specific graduate study within psychology. But again, it's a big sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice that's very, very much worth it.
Got it. Thank you. And I think Dr. Ignacio Martín-Baró definitely loved learning, and he was an avid learner and a committed advocate of social justice. So not only did he do psychology, he also did philosophy, he also did literature. And at the graduate level at the University of Chicago, he got his master's in social sciences and a doctor of philosophy in social and organizational psychology. And he was one of the 6 Jesuit priests killed during the Salvadoran Civil War in 1989. And you went to Chicago, right? Where you did your master's. And he came up with this table regarding characteristic features of fatalism. And he categorized them in 3 areas, like ideas, feelings, and behaviors. But I am not going to focus on each one. I'm going to focus on the ones that you actually have, but you actually defied some of these fatalistic feelings and behaviors, right? I never, in my experience with you in the classroom, I never saw you like resign to your own fate, or you didn't accept suffering, and you felt that you had it in your power to change your destiny. So I saw that early, and so I was always struck by that. To not let yourself be affected or worked up over what happens in your life. You still possess the willpower to craft your own destiny. So how did you know you were meant for something more?
The actual question takes me back. I guess this would be going me into a very deep psychological mentality, but from the day I was born up to I was probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I would spend at least every other weekend in the hospital. So I did have medical problems being born. When I was probably like two and a half, I was given 6 months of life, I guess. They told my parents that within the next 6 months to a year, I would potentially die, right? So there's different stories behind that. I mean, there's stories behind like how my parents took me to like a specific church over in Mexico, and then did like a whole like promise, whatever. My grandma tells me other things. So there's a whole story behind that thing, but as you can see, I'm still here. So my point is, from a very young age, unconsciously, my parents, especially my mom, put that mindset in me. Hey, there's a reason you didn't die, right? And she told me that at a very young age. I was like 4, 5, 6 when I was starting to understand life and whatever. And then that led, as I started more and more and more, other experiences also helped me. I don't know, for example, let's say I was doing certain behaviors that were maybe not for me. Let's say going out. and then I had certain negative experiences, and I was like, okay, this is not my life. This is for others. And throughout my life, I've had those experiences where like bad things happen, but they end up leading me to do better things. So when I was probably like 14, 15, I consciously thought about it. And that's when I actually started thinking like, okay, like maybe I do have a purpose, right? So maybe it was just my mom putting it into me unconsciously, and me just believing it, and I'm here now. But I do believe that throughout my life, there's been different experiences where most people question life. They question God. They're like, why God? Why me? Blah, blah, blah. I actually think, like, I'm like, hey, thank you, God, for not allowing me to keep going down that path. Like, I guess the way I say it is like a little spanking, like, hey,
right, yes,
hey, get back on your line, stuff like that. So, I've just, I really couldn't be specific, but I just always had that unconscious feeling of like, there's something you have to do, right? So I don't, again, maybe it was my mom telling it to me at a very young age, and I believed it, and I keep believing it. Or maybe it is that I didn't die after 6 months because I had to maybe be here and doing this podcast with you. So I'm a very firm believer that anything bad that happens to you, it's life telling you that that's not your life.
Right.
And you have to change certain behaviors, certain attitudes, or even just, I don't know, for example, once I had a really, really bad car crash. And the first thing that came to mind was, what lifestyle have I been living for the past months that led to this? Wow. And I thought about it and I was like, okay, I'm doing things that I don't usually do. Right. I don't know, I'm sleeping late, I'm doing this and that. This happened, okay, let's go back, let's fix things, and then stuff like that. So instead of me looking at things as far as like, why me, it's always like thank you, like, okay, like I got like, stop, like I'll become better, I'll fix what I need to fix. Like, you don't need to keep sending me like reminders that I'm messing up, per se.
Got it. I think there's definitely there must be something to this idea of being at the precipice when you're that young, because that actually happened to me as well. I nearly died when I was about 8 months. Okay. And my mom had to keep going back to the hospital, and it was about maybe 18 babies, and only 2 of us made it. I was one of the 2. So it was this idea that my mom was like, there's a reason why you're here. And I think maybe there's something to that needs to be explored.
And the funny part with that, well, for me, it's funny. And I guess that's another thing. I've never seen my life struggles as negatives. I always laugh at them, and I was trying to find the good side of it. And the funny part with me being told that I was gonna die and stuff like that, till this day, we don't know what was wrong with me. So it was not like, hey, you had this and we found a cure. It was just, I was really, really sick, and then all of a sudden I got better, and then I'm here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So till this day, we're still wondering exactly I do have some, what do you call it? A sequel? No, sequels, right? Like, I still have some things that I do. I can't get on roller coasters because I get dizzy. There's things that I've learned throughout my life, like, hey, if you do this, you're going to feel this way, whatever. But for the most part, like, again, because of that, I do believe that I do need to take advantage of that. So there's a reason I'm still here, and I'm trying to figure out why. And hopefully I find it one of these days.
Right. Thank you. And now for your undergraduate research project, you investigated conformity and submission, right? And it was something that you really got into in terms of wondering how power is used, right? For those who are on top and those who are below. So Do you think transformative leadership shifts away from those types of behaviors, conforming and submissive or even fatalistic, and how so?
Definitely. I do believe. So whenever I was doing my undergraduate studies, one of the main focuses was understanding why people feel like they have control over others, and understanding why the other side of the coin, why people are okay with being controlled.
Yes.
So more than me like wanting to do something about it, it was more like wondering why. So, and I think, and that's one of the most important things in life is asking why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you never find the answer, but always asking why is important. So it started off like that, just understanding why does somebody accept being yelled at? Why does somebody accept being said what to do? Stuff like that. As I went more into it, it did come up that most people use power in a negative way. Most people use it to like either control somebody, or just to not do something themselves. My pencil falls on the floor. Hey, can you grab it? Simple stuff. And then if you go up the ladder, then it starts getting more in depth and more stuff. So through that, I was like, okay, so it does exist, power and conformity, and there are people that genuinely are okay with being controlled because they don't want to be the ones to take the decisions. So if somebody tells them what to do, it makes their lives easier. They just follow orders per se, right? But once I started actually looking into it, I was like, okay, well, what's the other side of the coin? You have people that are very powerful, or like you have a boss that is directive, and you do this, you do that, no questions asked. Is there the opposite? Is there also leadership where they work alongside you and they help you and they mentor you, and instead of being bosses, they're actually leaders, stuff like that. So that's where I started going into that transformative leadership mentality. And I do highly believe that transformative leadership highly shifts that focus. Why? Because you go from telling people what to do to showing people what to do. You go from demanding to expecting. And so basically the expectation of the individual is not to perform 100%. The expectation turns into improving after every try. So let's say you have a worker, you show them something, a new procedure at a school. A boss will probably be like, hey, here's the procedure, and expect you to do it correctly the first time, right? You didn't do it correctly. Maybe I yell at you. Maybe I write you an ugly email, or I don't know, something that has to do with negative enforcements. And then you have that leader that's like, hey, this is a new procedure. It's okay if you don't get it right. If you have any questions after it, let me know. Let's work together. Let's figure out what works, what doesn't. Okay, you did it. You come back to me. Hey, this worked, this doesn't. But you know what? With this class, it doesn't work. But with this one, it works. But blah, 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 blah. And you go back and forth, and then you end up structuring same procedure, but 3 options, right? And then by the end of everything, the actual atmosphere is not only positive, but it's an atmosphere where you grow, right? You let your workers develop and be creative and take the lead, stuff like that. Obviously, the leader has to be there to mentor and look over, but at the end of the day, the actual notion of somebody conforming does not exist, or submitting. It does not exist because you end up working together and you end up figuring out something that actually works versus what might work. So for me, it was always understanding why people demand stuff and why people accept those demands. So I do believe that there's a lack of transformative leadership everywhere, education system, medicine, government, law, wherever you go, there is a lack of transformative leadership. And I do think, and this is a personal thought, I do think it does have to do a lot with some leaders being afraid to being taken over. So you don't want to show your subordinates too much to where they take over your position. You always want to keep them one step below you. Okay. I personally think that if I have 10 me's, I have to do less work. Right. So it's obviously about perspective and how you feel that your work environment should be and whatever. But I do think one of the biggest reasons that transformative leadership is limited is because most leaders do not want to lose their position and don't want to show, or they don't want to give everything up. Right. They always want to have that little one-up on you.
So an ability not to show vulnerability, that's for sure. And then this idea that one-up will always have you at the top, when that essentially is not the case, because not everybody, when you have that kind of attitude, many people who are below you do not see you as somebody who could be a leader. So there's that aspect too. So totally understand what you're saying there. But not Dr. Martín-Baró, he spoke about 3 strategies for moving away from fatalism, right? And the first one is the recovery of memory. And I think I heard you speaking about this idea earlier in terms of how you connect to your own experience, especially when you are learning, and how you discover that. So you have returned to your community, and he encourages that. He encourages that if anyone is going into psychology, definitely take the time to return to your community to do some of the work there, right? And working alongside people you know and you grew up with. And how are you helping others become more aware of their personal and collective past or their historical roots in ways that strengthen who they are, their identity?
Yeah, so for me, it's always been one of my purpose to go back to where I'm from. If I have the energy and if I'm not afraid to go to another state, to another city, and try and do something, then why should I be afraid to go back home and do the same impact? So it was always lived in my head. It was actually part of my when I was 18, 19, I did like a little journal entry, and that was one of my goals to if it took me 10 years or if it took me 30 or whatever, how many years, I would always go back. Just because when I was growing up, I always asked myself why people that left my town didn't come back. So I was okay. When I grow up, I'm going to come back, right? I'm going to try and show my story and share my story and give a different outlook on what's possible and things that are available outside of. I mean, even if you think about outside of Texas, per se, there's many things. So from a personal perspective, it was always something in my mind to do. So me doing it is just part of my path, per se. As far as how I'm helping others become more aware of their personal and collective past, I think for the most part, I do believe that most people speak, but very people listen. So from my perspective, one of the ways I'm trying to do my own impact going back home is providing individuals with the space to speak out. Maybe it's maybe it's just me and that person, and it stays there. But knowing that person express themselves in all honesty, directly, and that they got to a point where they're like, hey, you know what? I thought I was this, but I'm actually this, or I thought I liked doing this, I don't. For me, that's one of the ways in understanding, especially speaking about college and graduate studies. Thinking about master's degree, doctorate degree, it's a very limited discussion. Most people just focus on certifications, focus on bachelors. It is understandable. I do believe that there are some programs that do not need a bachelor's, yes. Or obviously if you do technical school, all that stuff, which we need more individuals to go into a technical field. We do have a decrease in that workforce. We need more carpenters, more plumbers, electrical guys. I chose not to do that, but we do need them. So I do think that we need to support that side of things as well. But with that being said, even the notion of those differences, right? Like, I want to be a welder. Okay, you don't have to go to a 4-year college. You can just go and do a 2-year. Okay. Yeah. I want to be a doctor. Hey, you're going to have to do 10, 12, 14 years of school. Me being able to tell that to, for example, right now that I'm working at a high school, me being able to explain that, it's already like a big impact, because me personally, I didn't really understand that until I got to college. So me being able to express that to, I don't know, if I can do it to a kid in middle school, and they start thinking about it, they're going to be years ahead of me. By the time you make it to their senior year of high school, they're way ahead of me. So I think that's one of the ways I'm doing it for sure. And more specifically, when thinking of actual historical roots, I could say that I went against my historical roots just because most of if I think about my family, and I have a really big family. From my mom's side, we're more than 200 members. From my dad's side, we're more than 100 members. So I can easily say I have around 300 to 400 family members, and I can also easily say that I'm maybe one of the only ones, pursuing or focus more on like studying and being academically driven, stuff like that. So me going back and like showing that it's okay to do that, it's also very important. So maybe not even speaking or anything, but just like me going back and like them seeing like, okay, like he's not doing the same thing as, I don't know, my cousins, or I'm not doing the same things as I expressed, my dad only went to 6th grade. And not because he wanted to, but because he had to work, right? So that wasn't an option, it was a need for him, right? But it doesn't mean that I have to do the same thing, right? He's actually been pretty good at showing us of the benefits of sacrifice, right? So he sacrificed his dreams for ours, so it's my time to sacrifice some of my dreams for the next generations, etc. So I think more than anything is understanding that you do have a certain pathway brought up from your past and your family members and your friends, the place you live at, but it's also important to understand that you don't have to follow it. And I believe for me, that's one of the most important things when I speak to individuals, making sure that they understand that not because everybody does it means that it's the correct thing to do, or the most beneficial. So yeah, I do use a lot, more than words, I just use a lot like my actual path,
Right.
and just show that like, hey, my parents, I mean, my mom just finished high school, my dad finished sixth grade, and I'm wanting to start my doctorate. So I didn't get held back by that notion that like they did that, so I also do that. No, it's like, hey, okay, they did that because that was what it was available to them. I'm being given a different opportunity. I'm gonna take advantage of it. And again, going back to the past, I'm still alive. So,
Right.
So there's
Yes.
a purpose. I'm doing it.
Excellent, excellent. And the second strategy he talks about is popular organization. So in your community, do you think people are beginning to pursue shared interests and build a collective consciousness through organizing together? Do you see examples of that?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm very involved with sports. So back home, whenever I can, I help out practice softball and baseball. For the most part, they're mostly age groups from like 7, 8 to like 11, 12-year-olds. But for example, whenever I grew up, we never had a travel team. We had we did have a travel team, but we usually had to go over to Mexico and play in Mexico.
Got it.
Right.
Right.
Now that I went back, I'm happy to see that there's travel teams for different sports: volleyball, basketball, softball, etc. So the one thing that I have been seeing, for example, right now, speaking softball wise, there's like 4 different traveling teams. So 4 times 12. So there's a big group of girls involved in that. Same with basketball. So I really think that as a community, the focus of understanding that, I guess, us as adults already had our opportunity, and not like focusing on that and being okay. It's their time. I think it's really helped out our community as far as like providing the new generations with that. So instead of being like, oh, it's because when I was young I didn't have that. No, it's okay. I didn't have it. Okay, we didn't have it. That point. Move on. Now we have it.
Right.
What can we do with it? So as a community, we're really trying to provide our kids with the opportunity that if they want to do something, they do it. And if they don't do something, it's because they don't want to do it, not because the option is not there.
Right.
Which I believe, for example, going back to whenever I was there, there was times where we had like a really, really good team, but we didn't have the opportunity to do it, if that makes sense. So now the focus as a community is like, hey, let's provide the opportunity. If you don't do it, it's because you didn't want to do it, but it's not because it's not available to you. And I think that's been one of the biggest things. Then again, that's why I came back, because how can I be away and then be nagging or saying, hey, how come my hometown doesn't have traveling teams? Well, because people like me that could help out are not there, right? So that's where I come in. I'm like, okay, if I'm willing to be part of it, why am I going to go to a different place? Might as well come back home and then be part of that change.
Excellent, excellent. And finally, his last strategy is class practice. And in your work with youth at your high school, how do you inspire them to imagine futures that they may not have once thought possible? And how do you continue to support them in seeing that they can take part in social structures where their interests are recognized, valued, and acted upon? And I think you touched a little bit on that, but it looks like it's now that you're there, you could start, you're doing some of this work.
Yeah. As far as the like me working out of the high school, it's been very important to let students know that it's okay to speak, I do believe a lot of times that, and maybe it has to do with the way they're brought up at home, or maybe from experiences where they spoke up and they got repercussions because of it, or whatever it is, they got a negative consequence because they spoke up or whatever. But for me, the one thing that I have focused on with any individual that I've been fortunate enough to touch or be part of their lives is basically just letting them understand that their words matter. Not because they're younger than me means that they know less than me. Not because they're younger than me means that I know more than them. So even as adults, it's important to understand that there's going to be times where the kid is right. Accepting that there's going to be times where maybe what you're saying as an adult is not the best. Advice. So I think for myself, in general, I focus a lot on providing students with the notion that they're gonna one day be the adults. So if they start thinking as adults, it'll open up a different avenue as far as how to see life. What I mean by that is, if you know what you want, say it, right? Even if it's wrong, say it, and then through discussion, you're able to get to the end point, right? But if you're scared, or if you see the adult as a superior, or for example, I mean, working with high school kids, especially with juniors, seniors, some of them are already 18, 19-year-olds. So you can have more direct conversations, more realistic conversations. So it doesn't go from elementary, middle school where you tell them, hey, one day you're gonna be working. No, it turns into, hey, in a couple of months you're gonna go into the real world. You're gonna start college, or you're gonna start working. You're gonna start that. What are you gonna do with it? And I do see that sometimes the students are like, mentally they're still back in middle school.
Yes.
Or elementary, where they're like, well, I'm thinking, but I don't know. I'll get there. And you're like, no, like, you don't have time. Like, it's now. And I'm not, yes, I'm your teacher, or I'm your advisor, whatever, but speak to me as a human. Let's speak as human. Let's speak as mature adults. Like, let's speak realistically. Okay. So I think that's like, for me, I think that's one of the things where I try and inspire them to understand that, hey, yes, we're in a educational system, but we're talking about your life. So let's focus on your life, and let's see what you want for your life. And I think little by little, it's a bit hard at the beginning because they're not maybe used to something like that. But eventually it does get to a point where they just go straight up to me and be like, hey, Mr., I hate this. Hey, I love this. And they're more direct, and they start really accepting what they like and they don't like. And then it just makes it easier for them to understand what they want to do after high school, if that makes sense. So I personally never induce students to do something in particular. I never tell them, do this, do that. I just provide them with the options of what they could do with what they tell me. And then I really focus on making sure that they understand that at the end of the day, the ones in control are them. Right. So personally, I'm only there as a support system and as somebody that should know a little bit more based off experience and whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm also a learner. I learn a lot from them. I'm not close to getting advice from them. I mean, there's times where they go for an advice and I'm the one that ends up getting an advice from them, etc. So I do think as I'm gonna use the word adult because I'm speaking about younger people, but I do believe in general that just it's important for people to not focus too much on age and just focus on the actual conversation going on and understanding that even if you're speaking to a 12-year-old, that 12-year-old will eventually be an 18-year-old. And then that 18-year-old will eventually be a 25 and 30 and blah, 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 blah. So speaking to them as humans and not looking down on them or not trying to control how they think or what they think. And for me, that's been probably one of the focus in general, to provide them with that autonomy to do whatever they want for themselves.
That's right. I have to agree with that, because I learned so much from you all. Even attending your talk today, I was learning a lot, especially you only have one life, right? And I totally resonated with that in thinking about, yes, you set your goal. We're not sure how we're going to get there, but we're going to get there because that's something that we put forward. We put it like in paper for ourselves. Right. And maybe other people may not understand it, but it's our life, right? And how we choose to lead that belongs to us. And I really appreciated that talk today. But as we step back in closing this podcast today from these reflections, how are you coming to understand your own life within this movement, from memory to community to action, and what might it ask of you now?
So the one thing that I have understand is that I control nothing. And because I control nothing, I control everything. I don't know, for example, I haven't had social media in like 11 years, maybe 12. I only focus on what I'm good at. I usually don't even care about what I'm not good at. So for me, just understanding that I can only control what I can control has led me into understanding that, for example, with the traveling teams, we can provide the opportunity for there to be 5 traveling teams, but if only 3 get filled up, then we just focus on 3. I'm not gonna focus about, why didn't the other 2 get, or no, let's focus on those 3, let's keep going forward. So I do think that as far as my own life, I'm at the point where the only person that's gonna be able to fulfill my dreams is myself. So by understanding that, it leads to me not looking for barriers or hurdles. If there's a hurdle, I just walk around it, for example. So I'm very much into manifesting. I'm very much into having a goal, purpose. I think it's very important to have a purpose in life. If your purpose is big or small, whatever purpose it is, I really believe that there has to be a reason why you leave your bed. You cannot just wake up and leave your bed just because you want to. You have to have a reason behind it. And the faster you find that reason, the easier your life will be. Because you won't be searching for anything. You already have it with you. So anything extra. And then lastly, just from a personal perspective, and then just because it came to mind, for me, waking up, it's everything. So waking up is the only reason I can have problems is because I woke up. So because I woke up, I'm able to feel stuff, touch stuff. I don't know. Like today when I got here, I don't really drink coffee. I got here. I went to McDonald's, got myself a frappe, whatever. And I did it because I was like, hey, like, I'm alive, right? I'm going to do it because I'm alive, right? So I do think that it's very important for those 2 things. One, that you accept that you cannot control everything. And then 2, being happy with waking up.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alexis. This was incredible. All right. So That's it for the Sul Ross Psyched Inn, episode 3, sold out.